Center for African Studies.
The Africa Policy Journal.
Great. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on when and where you are watching this. My name is Abosede Alimi, and I'm interview editor with the Africa Policy Journal. I have a co-interviewer, and I'll let her introduce herself before we introduce our guest and dive right in.
Hi, my name is Tahani Bala. I'm from Sudan, and I'm PA candidate at Harvard Kennedy School, and I'm also interview editor here at Africa Policy Journal.
Awesome. So Tahani and I are excited today to welcome our guest. With us is Dr. Akintoye Akindele. Dr. Akindele is the chairman, Platform Capital Group. Welcome, Dr. Akindele. Thank you for joining us today.
Good evening, beautiful African women in diaspora and Africa. It's a pleasure to have these amazing faces interview me on Friday nights. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor to be on the Harvard African Journal. I thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Dr. Akindele. We are happy to have you here. So we'll dive right in. My first question is, you are popularly known to be passionate about the development and growth of entrepreneurs in Africa. Can you please give us a personal background to what inspired this passion?
So for me, it's kind of commonsensical, right? And I'll start from it, and I'll approach this question from a few perspectives. By nature, Africans are entrepreneurs. I'm sure all of you have an auntie, a cousin, a mother that sells something. We're always looking for the extra income, you know? So first, by nature, we're entrepreneurial, by nature. But somehow, we have not been able to transit from that micro enterprise into institution. There's a body of knowledge. There's a major gap in helping our small companies become big companies. That has always confounded me. That is one. So a major, if you check the World IMF or the World Bank data on how many entrepreneurs we have per capita, Africa tops the list, right? But we are not able to transit the. Okay, so I was saying, Africans are normally entrepreneurial. We all have some cousins, some auntie, some mother or sibling who is always doing one commerce or the other. The problem, though, is that we've not been able to transit our micro enterprises into institutions, into industries. So for me, I've always been fascinated as to why that gap exists. Why have we not been able to turn the entrepreneurial drive into sustainable businesses? Why have we not been able to grow African giants from small businesses? Why? For example, in Nigeria, in Sub-Saharan Africa, we have 44 million SMEs. We have not been able to generate 1 million big global firms. That's just a very low conversion ratio. As an investor, as an academic, as an entrepreneur, I've always been fascinated and bewildered by the fact that that gap exists. And I then spent time trying to understand that, and I realized it's because there is a gap on the playbook. I call it the playbook gap. A lot of businesses don't know how to transit. They don't know the fundamentals of being an entrepreneur. A lot of people confuse doing business, which is basic commerce, to building a company. A lot of people confuse building a company to building an institution. And I think until Africans start transiting our ideas from idea into enterprises, from enterprises into institutions, we'll keep struggling. So I'm extremely passionate about seeing that transition happen from enterprise to institution. All my life, I've been around people who have done business, who have done commerce. However, they've not been able to make that transition. And that's one of my own life goals, to enable and facilitate as many as possible transfer of ideas to institutions. And that's what it's driving for. My parents were, they worked, but also they had their side businesses, like most parents that we all know about. But if you go to developed economies, you go to Silicon Valley, go to Europe, you see people actually take out and break out and take the risk of entrepreneurship. There is something almost fundamentally challenging about being an entrepreneur in Africa. I think a few of that relates to a few things. One, there's a fear of failure. People don't want to fail. There's a stigma around with failing. However, success itself is repeated failing. So if you don't fail, how do you succeed? So people don't want to fail, and as such, they don't take the risk. So we're not risk takers. We like to hedge our bets. Hence, we do basic commerce of buy and sell. One, helping African entrepreneurs understand how to take risk, how to appraise risk, how to measure risk, how to manage risk, how to exploit risk is a playbook that we have not done very well. Those of us who have been successful on the continent have not taught the next person on our journey. So storytelling, playbook management, letting people know it's okay to fail, and helping them what are called control chaos, helping them manage the way in which they fail and still get up without losing their dignity is what I'm passionate about. So yes, I am passionate about entrepreneurship. Yes, I'm passionate about us being able to create a playbook and a narrative for the future generators so that they know that entrepreneurship is not just possible and failing is not the end of the world. Entrepreneurship, innovation, and failing will unlock all the opportunities that we see here. Otherwise, people that do not own our continent will own our continent. We are here. There has never been a better time to be a black man than now. Everything you can imagine is on the continent. In the next 30 years, Africa will be the labor force of the world. 1 in 2 will be African. In the next 30 years, Africa will be the food basket of the world. In the next 30 years, Africa will be the payment economy of the world. In the next 30 years, every resource known to mankind, from gold, cobalt, will be in Africa. How come we are not taking part in that value creation? Take an example. The cocoa industry in Africa is worth $6-7 billion only, dominated by Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. The chocolate industry is worth $100 billion. But yet, chocolate is based on cocoa. So they exploit our resources, add value to it, and exploit it. That can't continue forever until we start understanding how we transit from enterprise, which is what the local farmer does, into institutions, which is what the chocolate company does. We will not exploit our potential. And that's my passion.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to hear that the Gap have motivated you to start this organization and the platform you started. Would you take us through the iteration process into how this Gap has fed into the mission, the current mission of your organization that you're speaking about, inclusive growth? You're speaking about long-term growth as well. So how did that inform the mission you are taking out?
So I had the fortune and misfortune of not living Nigeria at the same time. So when I was an undergrad, my dream was to leave Nigeria and go and live abroad because Africa was such a Africa. If you remember back in the 90s, every story about Africa was of poverty and of hunger. So I grew up in a time when Africa was a dark continent. I dreamt of going abroad for a better life. And my father, in his wisdom, realized that if this boy should go, he will not come back, right? So I graduated from university and I started working in Nigeria. And I was lucky enough, I did engineering, my first degree. And I moved into finance because I wanted to learn how to finance businesses because I was frustrated as an engineer. I then learned finance for another 20 years. Over the course of my career, I was lucky to meet a lot of entrepreneurs who had great ideas but were not getting funding. I met a lot of businesses who had done the same thing for years but could not scale to the next level. I saw a lot of opportunities that were not being exploited because resided, which is basically in the United States or developed world, they were not looking to fund those type of risk opportunities. I saw all sorts. I thought to myself, for me to be able to not just maximize the opportunity that I see for me, not just be able to ensure that we are able to exploit the opportunities as a race, as a people, as a nation, as a company, as a family. We need to first understand what it is required to unlock that value. So is it my journey of financing businesses from a banker into a private equity person? I did private equity for 15 years, into a long-term LTV vehicle that gave the idea of platform capital, where we seek to fund long-term ideas, long-term. We look to invest minimum of 7 to 15-year capital in ideas because it takes time. It really takes time for an idea to grow from an idea into a business. We did a research, which I'm happy to share with you, for all these global businesses that are successful. They go through 5 cycles. The first 3 to 4 years is called the piloting cycle. They are confirming their business thesis. They want to know what's going to work. Who is the customer? Where is the customer? How much do they pay for it? What do they need? What are their values? Confirming the commerce. When they then know that commerce, they then go to the next stage, which is business model development. They then want to build a business model to exploit that commerce. How will this commerce work? How do we sustain it? The people, the systems, the technology, the processes, regulatory issue. Another 3 to 4 years. Then they then go into the next stage of consolidating and building a company and an institution. Then go into growth before value extraction. So if it takes 15 years for a company to transit from an idea into an institution, how come we are giving these companies short-term loans of 1 year by banks or 5-year money, PA money? We are setting up to fail. And for me, that's what I saw in the gap, and then led me to set up platform capital to work with great ideas, great entrepreneurs, create an ecosystem of managers, regulators, where we then change narrative from short-term capital provision to nurturing, patient, hand-holding capital that will change narrative. We deploy long-term patient capital, we handhold them, we pair them with our networks, we expose them and we support them. And that is what Africa needs, because that's what happens in Silicon Valley. Most of the global giants today went through 10 to 15 years of nurturing, handholding, support, ecosystem approach to growth that we don't have here. And that's my journey so far.
So I was about to say that you are a leading investor and investment expert. What do you consider a good investment deal or opportunity?
Before the deal, guys, before the deal is the team. Before the deal, listen, I've seen enough in my lifetime to know that deals change, industries evolve, business models have to change. I back a team first. What do I look for in a team? I call it PSP. First thing is passion. I look for passion. If they don't believe in what they are doing, if they are not passionate about it, if they don't drive them or wake them up at night, if they're not focused about it, if they don't give them the drive to keep going, even when everything is stacked against them. Passion is extremely important for me. The more passionate about the idea, the more ability to pivot when needed or make the best of a bad situation. So I look for passion in the team. 2, I look for sight, not eyes, sight. The mind is the biggest prison. If I don't find a beautiful mind, how far is that vision? Is that vision missionable? Are you clear what you're going to, or where you're going to, what you're trying to do? Is it clear to you? Do you know what you're trying to solve? Do you know who the customer is? What's valuable is sight of the mind, sight, the vision, the audacity or the simplicity of the vision, the clarity of thought. For me, I call it sight. It's extremely important. Then the last P is purpose. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? If it's to make money, there are easier ways of making money than being an entrepreneur. Being an entrepreneur is not the toughest thing to make money. You're like they say there's a thin line between being an entrepreneur and being a madman. People think they are crazy, right? Because you are actually taking on risks that people think cannot be solved. So you need to have the purpose for it. What does it mean to you? How does it connect to your personal vision? Why is it important that you solve this? and you then connect this PSP in the team, it then helps me then choose that team. We then go into the business model, which for me, and I praise that using 4 stacks. What is the commerce? What problem are you solving? Not every problem can be solved. So now the team, I go to my pyramid. What problem are you solving? Why is that problem relevant? Who will pay for that problem? Basically, what is the commerce here? After the commerce is what is the business model that will unlock this commerce? After that is what is the capital structure that will support this business model that will unlock this commerce? And last one is how do capital providers, investors make money? Because at the end of it, money must flow around. And when I pass through all that, I show the team, they are my PSP. I put that idea through my pyramid of commerce, business model, capital structure, and in return, anything that falls out of that funnel is a good deal. And I've done this for over 20 years, and I think I have over 90% success ratio. So I know a few things about it.
Okay. That's very interesting, the questions that you ask the entrepreneurs to identify their problem. So I just want to ask on that, the same theme, that one of the common challenges facing entrepreneurs in Africa is the unwelcoming business regulatory environment. So how do you think the entrepreneurs could play a more proactive role in the policy design and policy making?
So I think, listen, most times entrepreneurs like to think they work out of government. That's not possible. Every entrepreneur must actually embrace what I call regulatory understanding. In any industry that you are an operator in, you must first understand what the policy environment is like, what the regulation is like. Why is that important? Because we have to help government think through those policies very well. We have a mandate as entrepreneurs to shape policy making. So first thing I talk to entrepreneurs is, what's a regulatory environment? You must know it. You must understand it very well. Otherwise, a great idea may be turned into a dead idea without a great, if you don't shape policy. And I think that's one. 2, I support entrepreneurs to sponsor think tanks and advocacy groups where we engage government and tell government what global best practices. It's not enough that we just assume that government knows everything. We have to show them what's happening around the world and support them, whether it's in finance or in agriculture, show them best cases. And what I do a lot is also show government policymakers good ideas. Earlier in this year, in February, we backed a company called Koniku. Koniku is a biotech company in Silicon Valley, funded by Nigerian. We brought the gentleman to Nigeria here to come for the first time in like 17 years. We then brought people from the Ministry of Health. We brought people from Lagos State government. We brought people from academia. We brought a whole universe of all policymakers from academy to government to everybody so that they can hear what is happening globally. I think we don't realize that as entrepreneurs, part of our job is to educate our policymakers. Because when we educate them, they are quite decent at what they do very well. Education of our policymakers, of our stakeholders, of our environment is critical to survival and must be an ongoing thing. We do it all the time, and I do it all for my portfolio companies. Whether it's through direct engagement with policymakers or through our various conferences or support system, it's extremely important. Government will always try and make policy changes because they have to balance the larger picture. As entrepreneurs, our job is to help them decide what policy they should embrace, what policy is harmful, and give them case studies and examples. I'm a firm believer in what can I do differently, as against complaining and saying government is not going to work. This is what we have. Guys, we are 60 years. The oldest democracy outside Liberia is not 70 years. The oldest democracy in Africa outside Liberia is not 70 years. We're a young democracy. We are learning how to govern ourselves by ourselves. We have to get involved in nation building, in policy shaping, in education, in handholding. And every entrepreneur for every successful entrepreneur, it shows governments that we can, while we are succeeding despite government input, if we get government support, we can do better. So policy advocacy, education, showcasing, conferencing, and is one of the ways I think we can do what you want us to do.
Thank you, Dr. Akindele. So building on that, some people will argue that big investment companies in Africa or foreign investors normally overcome the lack of infrastructure, necessary to be profitable and to be productive by economics of scale. So what are the options and innovations available for local and indigenous entrepreneurs in Africa?
Thank you, Bosse. So when people say economies of scale, it's real. Every entrepreneur in Africa has to be his own government. You have to solve your own land issues, solve your own telephone issues, your own power issues. So I agree with you. It's tough being an entrepreneur in Africa. But there's also what we call economies of scope. You must solve your challenges one at a time. You cannot continue to say you can't compete because government is not providing electricity. Thanks to technology, there are various ways of accessing electricity, from solar to alternatives. You can't continue saying that you don't have quality human resource because education is poor. You can actually go to universities, handpick young people, train them and hire them. You can't continue to say that you will not be successful because supply chain is inefficient. You can backwards integrate and apply. Every entrepreneur in Africa must realize that you're your own government, as sad as that sounds, but focus on what I call economies of scope. In my scope, in my area, what are the things I can do to change and position myself to give me what I call a comparative advantage before I go into a competitive advantage? Because if I can survive within my scope, within my resources, within my space, I can then survive long term. And that's what I focus on. When we do investments, I always ask myself, what are the things I can do within this scope that will make this company sustainable, profitable? The earlier you are profitable, the faster the better able to succeed. In the US, in Europe, you have safety nets, you have government support, you have long-term loan, you have low interest loan, you have quality resources. In Africa, we don't have that, but we can create that. So the earlier I'm able to solve my fixed cost challenges, I'm able to then focus on my variable cost issues so that I remain profitable, long-term sustainable. Because the fixed costs are real. They are real. You may find a business who is profitable at the gross margin level, but is bleeding at the operating level. Because fixed costs are challenge that is a signal. Every entrepreneur must solve their barriers, their challenges, and then position themselves. And that's what it is. It's not easy. But guess what? Africa poses the biggest opportunity ever known to mankind. 1.1 billion people playing catch up. We need everything on this continent. We need shoes, we need clothes, we need bags, we need phones, we need pencils. We import football, guys. We import football, we import football. In some countries in Africa, they import water and egg. Go figure. 1.1 billion people playing catch up. Average age of 18. We are the future of the world. In 30 years' time, everybody working in the world, half will be African. So if you not take control of what those people will consume, use, deploy, we will be slaves in the world that we are leading in. That table may not be created for us. We'll build our own table. And for the first time in our history, I'm so happy that the African Free Continental Trade Agreement is signed. Naysayers will say that it's too early, there are challenges. I will take every challenge in the world, knowing that the possibility that exists, because it's so easy to say it will not work. But I have a question for you, Bosse. What if it works? What if every young person takes up initiative? We are creative, we are driven. We have 1.1 billion people in the dark continent. We have the lowest per capita consumption of power in the world. Mexico is less than 150 million people. Mexico's economy is the same as Africa's formal economy. But I'm not deterred. I'm excited. You know why? Because people don't see us coming. Our informal economy is 5 times African economy size. I have the young and beautiful ones who have been born. Yes, we know have food, we have land. We can produce food, processes, and turn it to, we can feed the world. Yes, we know have phones, we can produce cobalt for mobile phones. We are coming. It is written. It is our destiny. Africa is ours. And each one of us has a role to play. From you guys in Harvard, learning how the best ideas to come back and impact it on the continent, from those of us who are entrepreneurs, who are trying to make a difference, from those investors investing in it, for consumers. This is Africa's time. It is slow, it is painful, it is difficult, but guess what? It is written. This is ours. And right now, because we now realize that Africa will grow, not because of policy of government, we will grow despite that, because we will our own future. America was not built by government, it was built by individuals. America was built by individuals. If you read their history, they fought for their independence from British government. They then built their own industries. No country in the world has been built by government. Individuals take the ownership of their destiny. They build businesses, that then build industries, that then build nation. Nation building is all our collective responsibility. And we must do it. And I'm committed to doing it for as long as I have life in me. We'll continue to empower entrepreneurs, empower policymakers, because we are so entitled on the continent. Leave government alone. Do your own part. Build your own nation. We are all government. In your streets, what are you doing with your community? How are you helping your community? In your neighborhood, are you teaching the young ones? Are you feeding them? Are you training them? In your state, what are you doing? It's so easy to point fingers on government. I'm tired of the narrative of pointing fingers to government. No country has developed by government in the world, not one. Show me one. Government always plays catch up. Africa, we are young. We are lucky to be Africans. There is no better time to be African than now. Technology is borderless. Capital is mobile. We are smart. And with COVID, even Harvard is now coming to Africa and doing online courses. Can you imagine? Almighty Harvard is now doing online courses in Africa at a fraction of the price. Back in the day, I have to take the plane, go to the Boston, pay for hotel, to take a 1 week course in Harvard. Now it's available online. That means we can scale, we can skill, we can tool, we can learn, and compete with the best of them. This is our time, guys. And that's why I'm happy that you guys are there to make sure that we don't miss the opportunity. Education is not academics. Education is now borderless. It's cheaper and it's ours. We don't need to do much. It's cut and paste. Most of the ideas are cut and paste. Electricity, solar is available. It keeps falling. Payment is available. Health. What are we waiting for? I'll tell you. We need you guys to realize that you are the world you want to create. Get involved, support an entrepreneur, adopt a school, support a child, focus on education, and let's take the world because it's ours.
Just let me build my next question on the three keywords you just said. So you talked about ownership, you talked about showcasing, and also you talked about the economics of scopes. That's very interesting ideas. So let me bring it back to the platform capital. So you recently announced a partnership with an international tech company in Kenya that's developing software innovation to tackle the problem of tertiary. Yeah, exactly. So I want to know what informed this investment, and do you see an opportunity for more investment in renewable energy sectors? So, and how does that fit on the three key ideas that you mentioned: the showcasing, the ownership, and also the economics of the scope?
Thank you. So first I'll talk about Cocoa Networks. Cocoa Networks is a brilliant company. Basically, what they are doing is they are trying to let Africans adopt ethanol for cooking. Ethanol is available everywhere on the continent. Cassava with maize, we produce them very well. It's a natural resource that is really almost, you can't finish, right? Reflexable. So what they've done is they have a proprietary technology that then use ethanol for cooking and for energy. That's massive, right? Because almost everybody can be a farmer on the continent. You know that. Two is that it also then reduces the carbon footprint, because how are using kerosene, using ethanol that's environmental friendly. Three is that the business model that they've used is such that they are empowering people in neighborhoods to sell them and use them. So every neighborhood is now involved. It's like a system where you have a super agent who then sells to other people. So first, you have a very economically, environmentally friendly product at a great price compared to fossil fuels. that is involved with the community. We then sell carbon credits to these people. Now, these guys have done a pilot and they have over 50,000 agents in Kenya. One of the things we do at platform is to invest in ideas that are scalable across borders. One of my biggest pain points is that M-Pesa in Kenya has not scaled to Nigeria or Ghana or Morocco. Ideas that own the world must be borderless and scalable. Ethanol as energy is borderless and scalable. What they are doing can be done in Nigeria, Ghana, Senegalese, Kenya. So first and foremost, it fits into our vision of one Africa. Two, it fits into our vision of ensuring that these ideas are scalable. That technology can be enjoyed by people in my village, people in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Mauritius, Morocco. It's demonstrable, it's working, it's achievable, it's obvious. Then thirdly again is that the team building it have developed a very robust structure of distribution and partnering with the law of very strong names. So for us, it's very simple. We only invest in ideas that can be scalable across borders because Africa is our strategy. If you ask me what's my passion, Africa is my passion. Unlocking Africa's potential is actually what I live every day for. Every day I wake up is how do we bring this to mainstream? Cocoa Network is well positioned. In less than a year since they went operational, they have 50,000 agents. By now, they have 8,000 agents. Imagine if we can then take that across Africa, where almost every family is an agent. The economic impact, the environmental impact, the economic impact, the tech impact is phenomenal. And that's why we back them. And we are hoping to then work with them to take them across Africa. I believe genuinely that in Africa, as we solve our own unique solutions, be it energy, be it payments, be it agric, we are solving the world's problems. Because the world has this problem anyway. But most importantly, we are preparing the future that we will be leaders in. I keep saying, in 30 years' time, 1 in 2 working force population will be African. Go figure. If we don't create that world for ourselves, how are we going to survive in it?
So, Dr. Akindele, when you talk about one Africa, then your passion is very clear. So, with your investment decisions and direction, is there a strategic focus area? You mentioned education now, you mentioned agric, you mentioned payments, for example. What are sort of the strategic focus areas that you look out for in these organizations before investing, so especially around social impact?
Thank you. First of all, Africa is my, so if you ask us what our investment thesis, Africa is my investment. Anything that moves Africa forward, I'm keen on. So what does that mean? Even though we are headquartered in Africa, we have office in Mexico, we have office in Asia, we have office in Europe, we're in Kenya, we're in Ghana, we're in Liberia, we're in Sierra Leone, we're in South Africa, we're in Mauritius. Why? Because for us is globally, we're looking for those technologies or solutions that we can bring back into Africa to change our narrative. Within the continent, we're looking for opportunities that can solve our narrative and can also export. I call it from Africa to the world, FATW. So what do I invest in? I invest in opportunities that, one, will move the continent forward, two, that are borderless and scalable, three, that will in a very demonstrable way, demonstrate the opportunities available on the continent and can really be global champions. I'm not looking for local champions. I'm looking for local champions. Global players with local input. Local is what I call it. It's very important to me. And I'm looking for entrepreneurs who have the passion, the purpose, and the sight to know that the hour has come. And coming the hour, coming the man. This is our world. I'm so passionate about it. So yes, we are sector agnostic. We are stage agnostic. We are race agnostic. We are region agnostic. Give me a great idea that can scale, that has potential, that has ability to position us, and give me a team that can execute it, and you'll have my last penny.
So Dr. Akindele, in this same theme, that I would love to hear your insights about how do you evaluate the African entrepreneurs or startups' track record in job creation, especially with the growing informal sector, but also the growing like percentage in unemployment rates in Africa. How do you evaluate that, and how does that fit your criteria when choosing what kind of ideas you want to address?
I think most of us are too educated. We are too educated for education, right? We say some very interesting things that I'm worried about. Like you said, how do I evaluate it, knowing that a lot of it is informal, right? Informal does not mean poor.
Yeah.
Are you aware?
Yeah.
Do you know that are you in Kenya? Are you Kenyan?
No, I'm from Sudan, and we do have a very big informal sector, and that
you realize that most bus drivers earn more than graduates.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are you aware?
Yeah.
You know that, do you?
Yeah.
I have a research I've done across African countries. Most bus drivers earn more than graduates in most countries. Most mechanics earn more than graduates in most countries. Most organizers, informal does not mean poor. The GDP and the way it's calculated means that what goes through the mainstream accounts. The challenge is getting informal into mainstream. I'm passionate about converting informal into mainstream. So when I evaluate opportunities, I look at the potential and the upside of the informal market being converted, whether it's from a payment point or from a process point. Urbanization is a major theme in Africa. The more people come to the cities, the more informal becomes. One of our portfolio companies called Bookings Africa. Check it out. Bookings Africa is trying to digitize informal markets and make it digital work. The biggest employer of labor in Africa is informal markets, from the carpenters to the tailors, to the stylists, to the hairdressers, to everybody. These are people who are economically productive, but not captured efficiently. So you come to Lagos right now. How do you know where to make your hair? Where to make your hair? How do you know who's a good stylist to give you to do your makeup if you're going for a party? We can digitize this on an app. You can check their rating, check how well they've done. You can pay them knowing that if they don't come, your money gets refunded to you. So you have payment security. You can appraise them, you can appraise you. Bookings Africa is trying to digitize all the informal work on the continent in a way where we can digitize them. Depending on what you believe, the informal size is almost 5 times formal size. Imagine if we can bring all the informal stream onto mainstream, where the hairdressers, the tailors, the carpenters, even the drivers who have extra time on their hands can monetize their skill. How do I appraise this? I look at the market universe, the possibilities, and what I call the route to market. How am I able to convert this opportunity into formal? I am passionate about my continent. I am passionate about bringing offline into online. I invest in Mexico, in the US, in Europe, to bring those ideas that have converted offline into online. Mexico or Latin America is similar to Africa, but they found a way to convert gradually offline businesses. For example, one of the businesses we're investing in Mexico, they have what they call offline payment. So even when the internet is down, you can still make a payment. We don't have that on the continent. I'm bringing them to Africa. Another company does property technology. They found technology where they can build houses at less than $5,000. Imagine that, houses. Imagine how many people have housing deficit on the continent. The informal market is our biggest opportunity, ladies. We need to find a way to bring them on stream. And you then see how much, if you adjust Africa's GDP for informal markets, we're a top 4 continent in the world. And that's what I see.
So, Dr. Akindele, you've talked a lot about, and I think you've already started to talk about kind of like where I want to segue to, which is, what do you see as the future of investment in Africa? So in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, what should we be looking at? What should we be looking out for And most importantly, what role will you play in this future?
Let me make you guys a bit sad. Do you realize, so all of you just said about Stripe acquiring Paystack. You also saw that in the news, right?
Yes.
So we did research. Do you know how much foreign capital is investing in African opportunities? Over 70%. Africans are not investing in Africans. We're just insane. It's crazy. It's madness. Are you not sad?
Yeah.
We'd rather take our money and go and buy a house in London or US or invest in S&P 500. So all the value we're creating on the continent is going back abroad. So if we assume that Paystack investors, if you assume there are 70% international investors, that means that over $140 million is going back abroad, not staying here. How are we going to develop? Tell me how. Jumia that did IPO. What percentage is African investor? Not 40%. So the best ideas out of the continent are being invested by international investors. What's wrong with us? Until Africans start investing in Africa, if all the money we have locked up in savings accounts in Nigerian banks, Kenyan banks, Sudanese banks, Ghanaian banks, if we take just 10% of that and invest in, 10% of that, we don't even get paid inflation rates on our money. If we take that and invest in startup ideas, if 10% of them just succeed, we'll create 10 times the value of savings. So I'm really looking forward to Africans, whether they're putting their $1 or $10 or more to collective schemes or other schemes, investing in African ideas. I think there'll be a lot more of that. As we have more African stories, people will try. Do you know that the biggest African companies are non-public, they're private, family-owned? So another major theme is as those family-owned become, as the founder gets older and the kids have their own ideas, they have to find next-level managers. So if you ask me what I'd like to see in the next 5 years, Africans investing more in Africa. Our portfolio right now is north of $400 million, and over 80% of that is in African portfolio companies. Our portfolio is 70% men, and I've promised that in 3 years, it'll be 50% women. Because women form the core of our opportunities. Our women entrepreneurs are the best around the world. Because in Africa, women are very trained to be great managers. In managing home, in managing resources, managing affairs, they are born, they have been nurtured to be managers. If you not empower them and give them a post to manage your businesses, I think we'll be unlocking major value. So what would I like to see? More Africans invest in Africa, more women entrepreneurs get funded. We have a fund for women entrepreneurs, AGS Empowerment Fund. I would like to see more African success stories. Our portfolio is global, but when we invest abroad, we want to invest in ideas that bring it back home to Africa. Again, guys, I'm not just being a nationalist African. This makes sense. 1.1 billion people playing catch up. Even China didn't have 1.1 billion people in 1959. It's where China is today. 1.1 billion people that need to wear clothes, wear shoes, consume data, consume phones, consume education, consume everything you can imagine. Tell me the biggest catch-up story in the history of mankind, if not in Africa. Tell me. We are coming. We will get there. In my lifetime, not the next. Because it is written, the beautiful ones have been born. Look at you guys in Harvard, interview me in Lagos. In the past, it was tough. Wasa is somewhere in the world. Your other colleague is somewhere in Sudan. I'm in Nigeria. And we're having a live real chat. This could have been 10 people. And we are getting better. We are learning. We are tooling. We are scaling. We are skilling. We have loads of challenges. Don't get me wrong. Loads of challenges. But with each needle that we move, we change our narrative. Wakanda may be in the movie. Wakanda is possible if each of us are nation builders. I want to task each of you to look around you and be a government of your own nation. You, the president, adopt a child to school. It just costs you $100 a month to take a child to school from primary to secondary, $100 a month. Adopt a child to school. Get involved in nation building. Support education. Mentor. And see magic happens.
Yeah, so it's very emotional to hear you. I could not say that, but I also wanted if you rephrase it differently, but I think your mission is all about changing mindsets as well. You work in finance, you work in investment, but you actually investing in changing the mindsets of the people. So I want to ask, what is your and then you provided an answer earlier about the importance of teams structure and teams mindsets as well. So what is your personal philosophy in investing in people in your organization or in any other platforms that you work in?
I'll tell you. Say anything about, so first and foremost, I'm an investment banker. So I analyze risk, all that. A great entrepreneur will make the best of a regular business. A normal entrepreneur will kill a great business. So the first thing I look for is the entrepreneur, is the team. A lion is a lion anywhere in the world. Take a lion from China to Brazil. It has one job: hunt and kill. A great entrepreneur is an entrepreneur that will pivot, will survive, will succeed, will make sure that it exploits and positions its business. So first thing I look for in entrepreneurs is the ambition, is the purpose, is the clarity of vision, and is the ability to evolve, and what I call it adaptability quotient, to adapt when life happens. Are you guys there?
Yes, I'm with you.
So business model is important, but without that, the best business model will work. Of course, I can tell you all about analysis, market, and all that. But I found that if you find an entrepreneur who has a great adaptability quotient, who is hungry, who is passionate, who has sight, not eyes. Because the eyes are not meant to see. Eyes are meant to be observed. Your mind is meant to see. Your eyes lie to you. A mirage makes you think there's water. It's not real. Your mind lies to you. If you can't see with your mind, you're blind. I back people who have the sight of the mind, who have purpose and clarity of vision, and who have hunger to change the narrative of their situation in life. And of course, we then equip and support them with great analysts, the business models, the business plan. Listen, the best business plans are dead the day you write them, because life is real. Life is not static. Run all your models today. The day you open your shop, your business has changed. Competition will not wait for you. Copy and paste is how God made this world. So the best business model will survive and only on how you evolve as an entrepreneur. And I say very simple. If you do not know how to be dynamic, innovate, and position, you'll die. Business is not about your business plan. Don't get me wrong. I love great business plan. I like them. I torture my entrepreneurs through it because it's a process. I'm trying to shape how they think. But it's like Mike Tyson said, and let me paraphrase, every boxer has a game plan until he enters the room and gets hit by a first punch. Then everything goes away. You have to survive. Every entrepreneur has a business idea until competition comes. Mr. Market is not very kind. Mr. Market doesn't wait for you. And Mr. Consumer is very demanding. So business plan is important. PSP, passion, sight, purpose. Give me that. Give me a great team, and I'll show you a successful business.
Wow, Dr. Akindele, you have given us a lot to chew on and to think about. So I'm mindful of time. So finally, and I know that this question will excite you, and it's a really good note to end on. What role do you think that Africa one Africa, the Africa you're so passionate about and that we've heard you speak about today, will play in the global economy? And what are the key priorities?
Let me excite you. I'm excited. You know I'm excited about this. You know I'm dancing. You know I'm really excited about this. And I can write a book on this. But before I answer that question, so let me tell you this. In 30 years' time, Africa will be the food basket of the world. Half of every food you eat on the world come from Africa to food basket Europe. In 30 years' time, Africa will produce the labor force of the world. So anywhere you work, will work for you. In 30 years' time, Africa will be the resource capital of the world. Whether it's mobile phone or jewelry or anything you produce, we'll produce it. In 30 years' time, Africa will be the tech capital of the world. While that produce solutions on payments, on technology. That's my Africa that I see. Now, what does that mean? It means that we must start today. We will not get there if we don't have electricity. We will not get there if we don't educate our people. We will not get there, like Marcus Garvey said, you will not emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Because none of us, nobody else can free us except ourselves. Africa is going to play a role. Whether we like it or not, it is written. The world side with Africa and it's come back to Africa. It's our time. Not because I'm just blowing gas here. I see it every day. Every day. One of my portfolio companies is called Koniku. Koniku has just created the first smell camera in the world. It has passed every test globally. Koniku is changing the way in where you can detect VOCs, volcanic organic compounds. That's one. Payment, people don't realize that people think that cash payment is an African problem. It's a global problem. With solutions and unpaid quarter wave, we are solving the world's global problem. Now we have mining, we have food, we have greenhouses, we have greenhouses. I promise you guys this. And we have gaming. 40% of the time spent online in Africa is spent on gaming, not betting. And the games that we'll play, the gaming environment will be bigger than the physical sport environment. But let me tell you this. I'm excited by the technology I see. We are building the first purpose-built campus in Nigeria, in Yaba, where across 7 floors, we'll have ideas hub, innovation hub, accelerator, incubators, 24 hours a day for everybody between age of 10 and 70. If you have an idea, come and incubate it. We'll fund you, we'll scale you, we'll expose you. We are partnering with global firms from ISM to University, so we get access to data. Once we know where we're going to solve our own problems. And I'm going to continue investing all my might, my time. I'm a full-time academic, I teach. I'm a part-time investor. I'm a part-time philanthropist. I'm a first human being. Africa is my calling. Africa does not need me. I need Africa. Because Africa will be great with or without me. Africa will be great despite our failings. Because look at it. It's the last continent standing.
On that note, I'm going to say on behalf of the Africa Policy Journal, Dr. Akindele, thank you so much for your time this evening. We appreciate you. We appreciate your passion, which is very clear for the continent. And we look forward to seeing the role that you will play, but also to really seeing this Africa that we all believe here that we will see someday soon. Thank you so much.
Let me chip in before you go. So right now in Nigeria, we are running an incubation program. I have people there from Kenya, from Ghana, from South Africa. We all look alike and sound alike. If you come to my incubation program, you don't know the difference. They've been here for 2 months. They have 1 more month to go. We pay them a salary. We've accommodated them. They are being mentored. They are reading books. They are being trained. And they will go into the world as Africans. There is no Nigerian. There is no Gambian. There's no Ugandan. We're all Africans. Africa will rise. African rising is not a hashtag. It is happening. When next you guys come to Nigeria, I want to invite the Harvard Business Journal to come to the launch We are graduating the first class of the Unicorn program on December 4. I'm inviting you guys to come and see the best and the brightest of our entrepreneurs. And I'm having next class, so you see yourself. So that when you go back and sleep at night, you'll be happy that the Africa you dream of is happening under your nose. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.